Okay, I chose to present on Lewis Terman's longitudinal studies of gifted children, and I chose this model because I feel like it's really lacking to fully meet the needs of diverse learners, especially when we consider today's student population. Lewis Terman is considered the father of the gifted education, and this model launched in 1921 and is still one of the most widely used intelligence scales. If we look at the overall model, he did mental testing on about 1,528 children, and he traced their physical, social, psychological, and professional development, and he did this for about 50 years. This model is based on the belief that IQ was inherited and is a strong predictor of success. And testing was a way to identify the potential leaders of society. So they did testing on soldiers in World War I first, and then later used this in the schools. Some cultural and economic factors to consider. One thing is that many of the students that were tested came from backgrounds with well-educated parents. And another important factor to consider is that it is a verbal ability test that is based on middle class English. Some reasons that I think that this model is inadequate. I don't think that it meets the needs of diverse learners, because if a child comes from a culturally different environment, then a low or average IQ score can be misleading. The differences in test performance among racial, ethnic, and cultural groups isn't accounted for. And we know that there are different factors, cultural, economic, and language differences, that affect the ability of our minority students to achieve at these really high levels that we often associate with giftedness. And then a few flaws in this model. It does not measure potential, and it's going to show that disadvantaged students are not gifted when that's not always the case. It does not use multiple criteria to identify cognitive ability, achievement, creativity, or motivation, which we know are other important factors when considering giftedness. And it doesn't consider the cultural, personal, or family background of the student. So, in conclusion, we don't want to under-identify disadvantaged gifted students, which is what I feel like this model could do. Their potential is there, and we need to find other ways to seek it out. For example, using creativity tests combined with other information.